Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. Today is March 12th, 2025. We get together with our distribution partners most weekday mornings at this time at 8 o'clock Central. On occasion, conflicts will come up. Like yesterday, we didn't have a Zoom, but we're back today. We're on a backup device. The computer decided to do an upgrade overnight. So we're going to use just a shared word screen here. So we're going to talk about the Shelf Corp problem as highlighted here, and maybe have a little dialogue on if you agree or disagree with what we're going to share with you. So what is the problem with the Shelf Corp? So that's the topic today. So let's start with some facts, some things that we know that are true. So to be a reseller, and we use the term reseller and grant coordinator synonymously, interchangeably, they mean the same. But the first point is that if you're looking to get paid to help people, you can do that. There's no cost to become a reseller. There's no contract that you need to sign to be a reseller. And it's designed to provide just a modest stream of income. The average reseller helps one client a day, earning $5,000 a day up front. And of course, the larger amount of compensation to our resellers comes from the back end. So clients, you'll get a client under contract using the editable agreement. Client will then get financing offers. Client will accept financing. They'll pay you for the Shelf Corp. That's where the front end money comes from. And then we'll get the Shelf Corp to them in 7 days or less. Then we can go for the larger business funding, and you're paid 5% of that larger capital raise. So let's pause there for a second. Does that make sense, or is there anything about that confusing? So you're paid twice, or two different ways. Could be more than twice. You're paid up front when the client pays you for the Shelf Corp. They don't have any money out of pocket, finance. And then every time they have a capital raise, you're making 5% of that capital raise. All right. So also, while we're not MLM, we're not network marketing, we do have overrides. And so if you want, you can have someone that is a reseller on your team. They get paid just like we said. So didn't take anything away from them. They're making their $5,000 up front. They're making $5,000 of the client's capital raise. But the point here is you make the same. So you'll also make $5,000 up front for each client that they bring in, and you'll also make 5% on the client's capital raise. So we're just going through some facts because what we want to do is resolve the Shelf Corp problem. But let's get all the facts out of the way first. 2 more to go. Some of you are some of you are knocking it out of the park. So some of you are very good about developing clients. You're using different techniques to create awareness, to educate, to build financial literacy and bring clients in. Some of you asked for assistance, so we recently launched a client placement program. You'll find details and descriptions, training we did on that earlier this week. And that's essentially where we have hired our own sales team to go out and do the financial literacy, do the marketing, get the clients under contract, get them pre-approved for funding, and then we can transfer them over to you. So the client placement program is available. Full training from earlier this week. Just real simply, someone else has brought the client for you to work with. And then, of course, this isn't all just about what's in it for you. From a client's perspective, what we want to remember is that it's designed to help clients legally and ethically have a fundable business. There's no out-of-pocket cost for them. As we mentioned, WAC means with approved credit. So what's going to happen is, again, you'll get them under contract. We'll have them fill out a finance app. They'll get financing offers. Then they'll be able to pay you. Often they'll have money left over for working capital. We'll get the Shelf Corp transferred over to them. Then we'll go for the larger business funding, of which that pays you. And then we have the override if you want to replicate the system. So let's pause there for a moment. Any questions on the fact set of what we do at its most basic element? Okay. And again, for those of you coming on late, apologize. Main computer decided to do an upgrade overnight, so we're working off of a backup iPad this morning. I apologize. All right. So to me, that's a pretty good value proposition, right? But let's identify what the problem is. So I believe, and I ask your opinion, I think it's time for us to improve our messaging and craft a narrative that will empower others to take control of their financial futures. We interface often with individuals who are not as fortunate as you and I. Some are just paycheck to paycheck. Some are in a more challenging position than that. So what you and I hold with just this basic fact set right here of what is it, 5 bullets, it's actually pretty damn profound. So let's go into that from taking a moment to really appreciate what you and I have, because not everyone has the same opportunity, the same ability to generate income like you and I. So first, I think we need to be honest with each other. We talk about this 5,000 a day, and we try to minimize it. Like, oh, it's not a big deal. I know a lot of you make 5,000 a day. But I think if you look at real bank accounts, there aren't many people that make 5,000 a day. There are some, but most people don't have an economic engine where they can legally and ethically and consistently earn 5,000 a day. So this is a big deal. Maybe we're a little bit too proud to admit it, but it's a big deal. And in fact, I would argue that it's almost mind-blowing that with no upfront cost, no investment, no risk, someone can become a reseller, go help the entrepreneurs have a fundable business, and earn 5,000 a day, 25,000 a week, 100,000 a month. And Samantha's asking, so are we guaranteeing this? No, you're the producer, and that's maybe the missing ingredient. So for some of you, as a reseller, you earn as much as you deserve, right? Because it's you that's bringing the clients in. That's the role of the reseller. So I'm not here to make any income promises. You could make 0 today and 0 tomorrow and 0 the next day. But if you're active as a reseller and you use the resources that you have, which cost you nothing, then this is the comp model. So the comp model is the comp model, Sarah, and so there's no question about its legitimacy. But it's like if you and I were in the kitchen and we had a recipe for chocolate chip cookies, we've got the recipe, it's right there. But you and I need to make the cookies, because we can sit and look at it all day long and wonder, well, why don't we have cookies to enjoy? You've got to use the recipe. We've provided the recipe. It works without question, but that's a great point. It's ultimately, it comes down to you taking those ingredients, mixing them, and making the cookies. But it's a really big deal. And we've had some of you push back saying, well, how is it that people don't see it? How is it that they're not motivated by earning an extra 5,000 a day? Well, the truth is they've got to make the cookies, right? So we've got the recipe, they've got to make the cookies. So then the other variable becomes, well, how much time do I have to put in to be able to make this 5,000 a day? Well, it depends, right? So theoretically, I mean, you could use the client placement program and it would take you probably 15 minutes a day. But if you're going to go out and generate your own leads and educate them and get them enrolled, then it's kind of up to you. But I'll say this, and I say it very respectfully. What if you had to go work a 12-hour day? And I know in today's society, no one wants to work that long. But if you had to go work a 12-hour day to make $5,000 a day, would that be a good deal? Well, I guess it depends on how badly you want $5,000 a day. But if you spent 12 hours out educating, generating leads, closing leads, I can't imagine that you probably wouldn't help more than one client a day, so it would be a multiple of that. But as far as time that it takes, that's you, right? We've got the recipe for the chocolate chip cookies. We provide the ingredients, but ultimately it's up to you. So you could be slow at baking cookies or fast, or frankly, we could even have someone else bake the cookies and you could just enjoy them with the client placement program. But this is a big deal to be able to, there's all these scams. And so what you don't want to do is get lured in, I'm going to invest some money and they're going to teach me how to make $1 million a month in real estate. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's not. I don't know. That's not our proposition. But we're talking about no cost to be a reseller, not even a contract you have to sign. So no promises. As Joseph likes to say, he wants no consequences. Joseph's the type of guy, he wants to come in, he wants to make his $5,000 a day, but he wants no consequences. Well, there you have it. The reseller is that. It's all upside. There's no downside of being a reseller. Furthermore, and again, so we're taking a little bit of a different approach today, looking at it from the glass is half full versus the glass is half empty. On a normal day, we would say, well, all we can get you is $5,000 a day. And I realize that may not compete with what you're making. But today we're going to look at it from the opposite, glass is half full. I mean, if you can, with no upfront cost, no risk, generate $5,000 a day on a consistent basis, that's a ridiculous amount of money. There are not many people that earn that type of money legally, ethically, and consistently. So it is a big deal, which goes on to the next. And it's more than in making a difference for you, because you manage your budget, and the truth be known, if you looked at your dollars and cents, what would an extra $25,000 a week do for you? I don't know. That's up to you and your family. But others are probably looking to you, and successful entrepreneurs solve other people's problems. And that's always interesting to me. We have a lot of people that contact us either as clients or as resellers, and they say they're an entrepreneur. But what does an entrepreneur do? An entrepreneur solves other people's problems by offering a good or a service, and they profit from it. That's what an entrepreneur does. So we have together the ability as resellers to go help solve other people's problems legitimately, legally, ethically, without risk, and earn a great income. And others, some people just need role models. And so for you to go out and do this in your family or in your community, in your network, probably is going to impact more than just you. It's going to be you're going to be a positive role model for others. All right, next. We believe that we need to help those that have less experience and that are less fortunate than yourself, because we talk every day to people that are just scraping to get by, if they're even getting by. They're driving trucks, they're driving Uber, they're delivering DoorDash, they're working normal jobs, and they're just getting by. And they're caught in our society's view of, I need to go get a job, and this is how it is. But you and I know different than that, right? You don't have to trade an hour of work for a low hour of pay. That's an option, and it's not that it's not honorable, and we all need workers in our society. But again, going back to you being a role model, helping people understand that entrepreneurialism doesn't have those same constraints of, I can only make X dollars an hour. I have to go to work when my boss tells me to. I have to get permission for time off. It's a whole different lifestyle that we need you to help educate, because a lot of people are stuck in that historic perspective of kind of the shackle and chains of, I've got to work for a living. Now, when it comes to entrepreneurialism, inevitably, entrepreneurialism includes risk. So you could bring a client in and we could get them funded. And then 3 years from now, 5 years from now, their business might still be operating, it might not. I was talking to one of our resellers yesterday, and he feels this very high requirement that he's got to sit down with clients before he'll sign them up for a Shelf Corp, and he's got to vet them. He wants to look at what they're going to do and decide if they're worthy or not. Well, that's not our normal model. I don't know that our place is to go critique people and their dreams. So I encouraged him not to do that, and I would encourage you not to do that. So we can take the risk out of making money and getting money. We can't promise that their ventures will be successful 5-10 years from now. Who knows what could happen with macro or micro environmental factors. But the beauty is with our program, there is no risk. There's no risk to be a reseller, no contract to sign, no fee to pay, no production requirements, no consequences, as Joseph likes to say. And from a client perspective, if you stop and look at our agreement's bulletproof. We will do, you look at the Shelf Corp agreement, we will do 100% of the time what it says that we promise to do. We had a call with an attorney yesterday. And so we have a client that came aboard, and Stanley's his name, real client. So he bought a Shelf Corp. Great. And when we delivered the Shelf Corp, everything was promised within about 7 days, got it to him. Great. So we hadn't heard much from him. We didn't know anything was wrong. He didn't want us to help him move forward with funding. Because you got to remember, the Shelf Corp is a different agreement than the funding agreement. We've talked about that in other trainings, because some people come to us just for the Shelf Corp. Some people come to us just for the funding, or they could do both. So Stanley, great guy. So he bought the Shelf Corp. We delivered the Shelf Corp. And he just kind of stopped communicating. So he went and got an attorney and had a beef with us, which is fine. So if there's a concern, we always want to address it. So the attorney scheduled a call with us, and I had the call yesterday. And what we quickly realized, the attorney and I, is that the client's gotten everything that we promised. Just the client didn't have clarity of what was next, which was to go into the funding. I'm not sure how that ball got dropped. But the bottom line is, we will do 100% of the time what we say that we'll do. Look at the Shelf Corp agreement. Each of you have an editable version of that. Look at the deliverables, and it's just, I think it's implausible. It's I hate to use the word impossible, but it's incredibly unlikely that we can't deliver 100% of the time everything that's promised in that Shelf Corp agreement. Because I think some of you are like, well, I better take this slow and steady. I better see if this works. Wait a second. So if you and I are in the kitchen to make chocolate chip cookies, we have the ingredients. As long as we follow the recipe, we're going to have chocolate chip cookies. Now, where can an issue come up? Well, I don't have any chocolate chips. Well, if we have a client that's missing some essential ingredient, what are we going to do? We either need to go get the client the chocolate chips, or we're going to have to change the recipe. So maybe their situation is that they're not well positioned for a normal bank loan, a normal term loan, SBA or otherwise. So we need to look at other financing options. I was on the phone with a high-level representative from Chase Bank earlier this week. And we have a program with Chase Bank that is a line of credit. It really is designed to be $500,000 or less, but a relatively simple process to get a $500,000 line of credit. It's a 10-year term on the line of credit. I know that may be complicated. I don't want to get too deep, but we can do the whole application by phone. I mean, it's crazy good. So what's the point? If someone comes to us and they don't have the chocolate chips for the chocolate chip cookies, does that mean that we can't help them? No, we can either provide them the chocolate chips, or we can change the recipe and maybe pivot to a big line of credit. So what's the point? There's no risk in what we do to you or to the client. And that's unusual, because normally there is risk with entrepreneurial pursuits. Here's the biggest one, and this is the biggest challenge that I think you'll face, and that frankly we face, The biggest threat comes from people that don't have financial literacy. They don't understand. And some of these folks, and we love them, right? We love them, we embrace them. Some of them just don't even know the right questions to ask. They don't know how to act. I'll give you an example. We have a client that George, real client. And so last night, he started calling our emergency off hours line. And so we're trying to do the best we can to give 24-hour a day, 7-day response to help people with emergencies, but we're still staffing up for that. It's hard to get people to want to staff overnight. So here, George is just blowing us up after hours last night. And we're like, well, George, is there something that can't wait until morning? I need you to call me now. I said, well, I didn't say, but the overnight receptionist said, well, we don't have anyone in the office now. Do you need us to send someone to the office so they have your file? Yes. And if you don't have someone go to the office, this is a scam. And so I went ahead and called George back this morning driving into the office. And I said, George, we're here to help you, but it's a little unusual that you're expecting live support in the middle of the night. That's not the way that it normally works. So that's a real example, a bit of an extreme example, but some people, they don't know what you know. They don't understand how the financial systems work. And that's really our only threat, people that have expectations that are beyond the norm. But in terms of our agreements, we can deliver 100% on our agreements. So it can be difficult to impress on people who don't realize how unstoppable this movement is. How suddenly earning an extra $5,000 a day, which if you do that 5 days in a week is $25,000 a week. If you do that 4 weeks in a month is an extra $100,000. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. And so the point today is we spend a lot of our past Zooms trying to minimize it. Hey, I know an extra $5,000 a day is not a big deal to you, but the truth is it is. Most people don't have an economic ability to earn the money that you and I make and help people the way that we help them. On 509 Pacific, of course, you'll have our phone number as well. Let me stop the share so I can attempt to navigate the Q&A. And again, I apologize. Our main computer did a massive update overnight, so that has caused us to be on a backup screen. Okay, so now I can see the Q&A, and we're going to get into the Q&A. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, just type it in. We'll address them, and we're going to start doing that now. All right, so Joy Grace, one word, Joy Grace asks, what's the necessary credit score to get financing for the Shelf Corp? The truth is there's not a credit score. So this is a great point. And so let's have a little financial literacy discussion. Most lenders don't make decisions on credit scores. The average consumer thinks that, but it's wrong in almost all cases. Now, there might be minimal cutoffs, but typically lenders have a much more sophisticated underwriting process that they don't always tell everyone exactly how it works. It's proprietary to them. So they're not going to only look at the credit score, but they're typically going to also look at the credit profile. So I can't give you some specific score. I can give you examples. Kenneth had a 580. Kenneth got over 20,000 of first tranche financing, which was obviously more than enough to pay the Shelf Corp and put fund money in his pocket. But does that mean everyone with 580 will get approved? I don't think that's true. So what I would say is, as a reseller, stop pre-qualifying. If they want the value proposition of a Shelf Corp, which is very desirable, Joy Grace, have them sign your agreement. We'll send them the funding app. We'll see what offers they get. And we can always find a way to work with them. But I can't give you, because there's not a straight answer of what's the minimum credit score. Secondly, we don't care about imperfect credit, because part of the value proposition that we have, I mean, it's part of the deliverables. Like I mentioned earlier, 100% of the time we can and will do what we promise to do. And if you look at the deliverables on the agreement we sent in the reseller packet, it states free credit assistance. So we know a lot of entrepreneurs have credit issues, and that's okay. That's part of the solution. That's part of the problem that you and I solve. All right. Rod says regarding client placement, the client placement program, and I know you all aren't seeing anything. I'm on the backup device because my main computer did a massive software version update. So sorry, I'm just reading this to you. So if you do a client placement, we will transfer over to you the agreement, and we'll do a warm handoff. So that won't be a problem. You'll be getting a client that's already under contract. It's not a lead. It's not a prospect. It's a signed client, and they've already filled out the finance app, and they already have been pre-approved for at least $15,000. And we cover that in detail on Monday, but hopefully that responded to your question, Rod. All right, let's see what the next question is. Oh, he says, thinks that solves his problem. Karen says, quote, my challenge is poor credit circle. Don't know exactly what that means, but let's talk about that. So we love people with imperfect credit. The more damage, let's say you and I were car mechanics. The worse that car is running when they pulled into your and my shop, frankly, the more valuable you and I are to them because we're fixing a bigger problem. And in general, the bigger the problem that you fix, the more money that you can make. So if someone came to you, Karen, with poor credit, that's fine. That's okay. We don't need to refuse them, and that's part of the value proposition. So, but keep in mind, the average credit score, according to Experian, is a 714. So the average person has good credit. I've had a few of you say, well, everybody has bad credit. No, in fact, most people don't have bad credit. Some people do have bad credit. Tratasha, beautiful name, Tratasha, asked how we market to generate clients. Well, that's up to you. If you go to our YouTube channel, there's lots of different trainings we've had on different strategies and different techniques. So the YouTube library is really good to see different options. And then, of course, on Monday of this week, we rolled out the client placement program where we already have the clients ready for you. But there's lots of ways to generate clients. But frankly, that's your role. Probably one of the most successful is to link up with people that already have entrepreneurs looking for funding, loan brokers, MCA brokers, accountants, tax preparers, bankers. I mean, that would be ideal, but there's lots of ways. But that's really what you bring to the table. If you want more depth of a response, go to our YouTube channel, please. All right, Michael's asking about the client placement program. So again, I don't want to attempt to repeat that whole 30-minute segment we did on Monday today, but hopefully I'm at least bringing your attention that if you don't want to go develop your own clients, you don't have to. Clients have already been developed. They've already been pre-qualified, pre-approved for funding. If you want more detail, please watch Monday's training. As far as Joy Grace is asking where to become a reseller. So 509 Pacific, and again, I know our screen's not shared as normal because the computer snafu this morning, but 509pacific.org, not the Atlantic Ocean, but Pacific, 509pacific.org has the information or the link to become a reseller. Doesn't cost anything, no contract to sign, 509 Pacific. And let's see, Jeff says, okay, Jeff's asking more about the client placement program. So I'm going to say this, and I know it won't feel good, but I think in some cases I just need to be straightforward with you, whether it feels good or not. I think you've got to make a decision. Are you going to dabble or not? We have a legitimate way to help you earn an adult income. $5,000 a day, $25,000 a week, $100,000 a month. That's not a promise. That's not a guarantee. It's based upon your results, right? We've got the recipe. If you want to mix the cookies, we'll definitely be able to make the cookies together. But with that being said, if you're dabbling, I know you're all busy, but We have this training most weekday mornings, and it's about 30 minutes a day. To me, if I were to create a plan, how can I start earning 5,000 a day? Would I mark off 30 minutes a day to either listen to the topic of the day live or listen to it recorded? Yeah, I think if you can't budget an hour a day, it's probably unrealistic to expect to make 5,000 a day. There's probably some minimal. So it could be early in the day or late in the day or in lunch break or whatever. But if I had only an hour a day, I'd spend 30 minutes keeping up with whatever's going on with the Zoom, because we're always trying to identify the topics that are most relevant to you all. And then I'd spend the rest of the time, of course, generating clients or using a CPP and working with contracted clients. But what's the point? I think some of you dabble, and I don't mean that negatively, but you dabble. So you're not really plugged in, so you don't have any momentum, you don't really have the confidence, you don't have the framework, and it's like, well, this isn't working for me. Well, you're not following the recipe, you're not making cookies, so there are no cookies. So it's just hard in life to dabble. So we're going to start defining, if you can't put on average an hour a day in, I don't probably think that you'll expect to make 5,000 a day. But if you, conversely, if you can allocate an hour a day based around your availability, I think we can keep you up to speed and successful. And that's not every day, but it's just these Zooms. Some of you will hear something and you'll want me to tell you the whole story again, or worse yet, some of you will call and say, hey, tell me about that Zoom this morning. It's like, well, did you watch it? No. Well, we can't economically support 300 plus distribution partners on a one-by-one basis. All right, so in closing, number one, I apologize for being on the backup system. Computer decided to do a software update, so it wasn't up and ready at the beginning of our scheduled time. Secondly, we've got a great opportunity to go help people, to be a reseller. You don't have to sign a contract, you don't have to pay any money. We have great resources and support. We're going to do 100% of the time. And that's again, part of the conversation I had with that attorney yesterday. I feel comfortable. You could put my hand on a Bible and be under oath. I'm confident 100% of the time we can fulfill that Shelf Corp agreement. So if the big concern is, well, I'm hesitant to be a reseller because I wonder if we can actually deliver, we will deliver. And if you ever feel like we're not, be sure to let us know. But 100% compliance is what we should have with our Shelf Corp clients. All right, thanks everyone. We'll see you back tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have the normal screen sharing going, and let us know if you need any help. 509pacific.org has the phone number if you need to have that again, has the ability to get quick cash, to get set up as a reseller, and so forth. Thanks everyone. See you tomorrow. Have a good day. Bye.